What is up, and welcome back to the Unfiltered Trainer podcast. Y'all, this is the road to 1K. I cannot believe that 1,000 people have listened to this podcast. I'm just in awe of all of you and the fact that we are 33 episodes in and you are still listening. I just want to say thank you. And I feel like today's episode couldn't be like any other episode because this is a very special moment in podcaster lives. And so we are trying my first video episode from my happy place, my apartment, and I'll put some video clips in for the video. If you see this on YouTube or Spotify, if I figure out how to download this to Spotify on a video, that's the next hurdle after we film this podcast. This is it. This is the place that makes me the happiness. This is where my podcast was born, was literally sitting on this couch. And so I've talked about this, but if you're new listening and you didn't hear episode 2, episode 1 was the welcome, and episode 2 was the birthday episode. And that was probably the most pivotal episode because it really set the tone for this podcast. And it really kind of defined what the Unfiltered Trainer was all about. And it just feels right that almost 9 months ago, I was laying on this couch, and maybe it's 10 months ago now. When is it? August? Oh my gosh, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July. Oh my gosh. Math is still very hard from the accident. This episode is going to be hilarious because it's on video and we're not stopping. We're a month away, which is so crazy because time is definitely so hard for me. We're a month away from the accident that completely changed the course of my life forever. And it's the reason why I was sitting on this couch a year ago. So when the accident happened, I endured a traumatic brain injury. There's a period of time I was unconscious. And after a few weeks of really struggling to pick up my head and function, I was so miserable. I was laying on this couch. My head was supported with all of these pillows because holding up my head was so fatiguing by the end of the day. And I remember thinking, why are you still alive? You were so depressed, so anxious, having panic attacks. And I couldn't think why did God save me? Universe, whatever is above us. What were you thinking? Why didn't you just let me go? I was so miserable. I couldn't see the light anymore. I just was not where I was supposed to be, not doing what I should have been doing. And for some reason, I survived an accident that should have impaired me a lot worse. And from what I keep being told, probably shouldn't be here. And so I was laying here and I was super miserable. And I told myself, I was just over it, just over the situation. And I said, what are you going to do differently with your life? You've been given a second chance. What are you going to do differently, Gina? You're unhappy at your jobs, plural, because we all know how I operate. You feel you're not serving a purpose. You don't feel like you're where you belong or you're not around the right people. What are you going to do differently? And I am somebody who does not talk about things. I am somebody that just takes massive action, and I do things and I'll tell you when they're done, but I don't talk about it. And so years ago, I bought a podcast course and I never used it because I was so afraid of speaking. Even though I'm great at public speaking, I have a lot to say. I'm a Sagittarius in the middle child. I always got something to say, always have an opinion. But when my social media started to grow, and it was an accident, I never sought out to have a following. I'm from a very small town. And y'all, the way people came for my neck and the things that were said, it was just so uncomfortable because I was just sharing my truth and being who I was and just being a very honest, genuine person. And when you're from a small town and you're getting a lot of exposure, thousands of likes on every post, you think it's exciting until the world has an opinion, and then you learn it's not that exciting. It's actually very problematic. And so I bought this course and I never used it. And so when I was laying here almost a year ago, which is so freaking crazy, I cannot believe that's a thing, I made a list of things that I committed to doing, and the podcast was on there. And it's one of those things where I just started like taking action. I just started doing things. I had already started my charity collaboration organization. We had already had a very successful first event. I knew I wanted to scale that. I knew I wanted to expand my health and wellness business. I wanted to serve people in a greater purpose. More to come about that. Very exciting things are happening. I knew I wanted to utilize the network I had in Tampa and help other people expand their network. And I knew that the podcast, it needed to happen. Everybody asked me, why don't you write a book? Why don't you write a book? I don't know when I'm supposed to write a book, y'all. Like, I don't know when those things are supposed to happen, but I knew the podcast, it was time. And so the birth of the Unfiltered Trainer, if you're watching this, is here on this couch. I thought about it and I committed to doing it at the end of August. And I did not launch my first episode until my birthday because I didn't think I was going to be here for my birthday. And so it was kind of like, here's your second chance at life to get it right. And instead of living for everybody else and doing for everybody else and living based off of other people's opinions, I did it for me this time, which was really, really hard for me to just do what's best for me, because I have always done for others and wanted to please everybody and wanted everybody to be happy. And it bites you in the ass sometimes, let me tell you. And so I started the first episode and I came out swinging. Like, if I'm going to do this, we're doing this. And I did the welcome episode just so people like knew what exactly it was about. And the real first episode is episode 2. So if you have not listened to the birthday episode, circle back. It'll really explain a lot and it'll make it all make sense. And so I made myself this little list. This is my life. This notebook, I saw it at Target. And I was trying to figure out the whole color scheme of the plans and social media. And there's so much that goes into having a podcast. And it's crazy, but the image I had created for my podcast was these colors. And it was just one of those moments where, like, you look at it and you think, what is happening right now? Like, the world started to weirdly align at this time of the year. And this was the same colors as the image of my podcast ad, like my podcast thumbnail. And in here is literally just pages of notes, ideas, thoughts. And I brought it out today because the podcast started on this couch. It started with this notebook. This notebook is almost done, which is so crazy. And this is where the birth of the Unfiltered Trainer came from. And so when people ask me, like, how did I come about, like, calling it the Unfiltered Trainer? Like, where did that all come from? I have always been opinionated. I have always had a lot to say, had a lot to think about. Always was like a profound child, just like always thought deeper. And obviously I'm a personal trainer. That's how this whole page got built. Like, my whole following got built was from being an online health and fitness coach. But I always say that I'm different. A lot of people can give you macros, they can give you workouts, but it takes a special person to help someone help themselves on a soul level. And I always say that I bring a mind, body, soul approach to health and fitness. And so I like to keep it real and direct, and I say what needs to be said, even though people may not like it, they may not appreciate it, but I say what needs to be said and I'm not wrong. And people circle back and they get it and they're like, oh yeah, that was right. Or, I get it. Like, I don't sugarcoat things and I just say what needs to be said in the way it needs to be said. And that is how the Unfiltered Trainer began. We're going to kind of go through a little journey, as cliche as I always say that sounds, it's true. And then I'm going to answer your questions of, like, questions you had about the podcast and, like, how I feel about having a podcast. And so the thing that held me back for so long, and maybe some of you are sitting in the same boat, is the fact that I was so afraid of failing and I was so afraid of other people's opinions. And it's something that I have overcome, thankfully. And I know a lot of people are still working on. But something that I've learned in my life is that people's opinions don't pay your bills. And if people are talking about you, it's because they have time to talk. Those who are doing the most don't have time to talk. And what really triggered me about this podcast was a couple weeks ago. Now I know that people have had things to say. I know you may not necessarily agree with my lifestyle or everything I do or my thoughts and opinions on things. I know like being child-free by choice is a trigger for people, like talking about health, mental health specifically, and the journey I took with my own mental health and almost not being here, which is in the birthday episode. I know that makes people uncomfortable, but I know nothing good comes from comfort zones. And it's when you step outside of your comfort zone the most that the life worth attaining becomes available. And so what really triggered me and kind of solidified what I thought was a fear, quote unquote, and just now is something I comically can laugh about, is that somebody told me that when my podcast came out, a group of people that used to be in my life got together and they made fun of me. And all I could think was like, WTF? Like, who in their right mind, grown ass adults, gets together and makes fun of somebody doing something, putting themselves out there, trying to help other people, and you make fun of that person? And that's when it like all just hit me. I had really like carried some deep things with me from last year, felt very apologetic, felt like I like had wronged people that had wronged me, and it was a reciprocal thing that I'm not proud of. I wasn't my best self last year before the accident. After the accident, it was just like, Lord have mercy, whole different person. But I don't hold anything against those people. And I want nothing but the best for everybody that's graced my presence, whether you're in my life or not. I truly wish nothing but the best for everybody. But that was a low moment for me to find that out, because it really solidified the fear I did have, is that the other people on the other side of this mic, they may be making fun of me. They may not like what I have to say. They may have opinions. But it's comical because, again, it's always people doing less. It's never somebody doing more than you talking about you. And when I found out I was being made fun of by grown adults, it just solidified for me. Everything that happened the way it happened needed to happen. I needed a clean break, and it had to be bad, because if anything was gentle, I would continually wonder what if. But that's when I knew that doing this podcast was right, because people that make positive change make waves, and you can't please everybody and make change. And so that's when I was like, wow, you really freaking made it, because that goes to show you that you're stirring up conversations and people are talking, and that's what you need, because that is what drives growth. It's conversation. And so it's something that, for me, at first I was so hurt, because I just thought, wow, like that's where we are. That's what we're doing. And then I just was like, Gina, you made it. You have achieved everything you needed to achieve in the way it needed to happen. You have moved on from toxic situations and people, and you are going places. So keep making waves. Keep saying what needs to be said. And if you piss off people along the way, so be it. Because there's no ill bone in my body. I'm not setting out to do harm. I'm not trying to hurt anybody. Like I always say, best intentions, questionable outcomes. Because having the biggest heart kind of is dangerous. Because I do stay in situations too long. I do accept people too long. I allow people to treat me like I don't deserve, and then get upset about it. But 2024, Gina, I'm just happy. I'm just vibing. I'm just living my life. And I'm not worried about anything anybody has to say anymore. You want to talk about me? Get in the comments and let's talk. You got something to say? Say it. Say it to my face. Post it in my comments. If you want to be so bold to talk shit, then talk shit. But at least have the respect to say it to me instead of talking about me. And honestly, I always have better comebacks about myself anyways. So like, if you're going to talk shit, come talk shit to me. So like, I can talk shit about myself. But like, really, if you got something to say, then say it. If not, keep it moving. Because all people that talk about other people are doing is wasting precious time. And I have a second chance. And I'll be damned if I waste a single second of the life that I have now worrying about the life I had a year ago. So bless and release if you too are in situations that do not serve you, with people that do not elevate you, inspire, or empower you to be a better human being. Like, move on. And that is part of this next phase of this conversation, which the reality of all of this is taking massive action. So I was at a networking event last week, and these random people came up to me after, and we were just talking, and like we were like sharing social medias, and they saw like my like profile, my list of all the things I do. And they said, "You have a podcast?" And I said, "Yeah." And as we were talking about all these things that like they wanted to do and how I had done what I had done, I asked them, like, what are you so afraid of? Like, what's holding you back? And with no disrespect, I told them, I said, you know what your biggest problem is? All you've done in this conversation is talk about things you want to do. At no point did you talk about how you're going to do them. And like the one guy stepped back and he was like, whoa, you need to be up on this stage. Like, you should be talking in front of all these people. And it's like, I do it. I got my own thing. But it's the truth is that everything I've accomplished in the last like 8 months since I launched this podcast is that I took massive action with every single thing that I did. I didn't tell anybody. I quietly sat here writing my notes, planning my episodes, researching the right equipment, the right microphone. Like, I just did the work, and that's it. And I put it out there, and it is what it is. I don't care. I didn't truly care if one person listened or 1,000 people listened, because I was doing something that like fueled my soul. And when people ask me like, why haven't you monetized this? Like, this is something that I'm not rushing. This is something that I have plans to evolve. I've got ideas. I'm working on something that I think would be really fun. I just got to figure out how to go about doing it, because I can't be basic to save my life. But you can't do anything half-assed, in my opinion. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. Done is always better than perfect, but you have to do the work. And that comes from taking massive action. And so if you are sitting here listening or watching, hello, so cute. If you are watching, this is so crazy to me. There's something in your life that you want to do. There's something in your life you want to pursue. There's something on your heart. It's just like me. For years, I had thought about doing this. You don't have a future if you don't take action today. So if you want to be different, you want your life to look different, you want to go places, you want to do things, you want to make an impact. Like I told this group of people, all I want to do is make an income that directly aligns with the impact that I'm making. I want to make more money so that I can help more people. I want to make more money so I can do more to help, like truly make a difference in the world. That's all I want. I don't want a G-Wagon. I don't want a bougie house. I don't want to clean it, nor do I want to pay someone to clean a bougie house. Like, I don't want things, and there's nothing wrong with wanting things. Like, hello, I have a beautiful apartment, love my life. This is as good as I'm going to get. This is all I want is right here. Like, this is truly everything I've wanted. I don't want things. I want to help. I want to make a massive difference. I've got plans for my charity organization. I just need to find time. But when I think in my little brain, I just think about, wow, Like if you did XYZ and it created this domino effect, just how many people could you help? And then how many people could you inspire to keep doing what you do? And so it all comes down to taking massive action. Nothing in this life worth having comes easy. Honestly, if something came easy, I'd question why it came so easy, because that's just not my life. But the best things in life come from truly putting yourself out there in the most vulnerable, genuine place you can be. And be true to your heart and soul. And do it because you want to do it. Don't do it because of clout. Don't do it because you think you'll blow up on social media. Do it because it fuels you. Because it's like a passion project for me. Like, I truly didn't think we'd have this many people listening to this. Like, this is crazy. Like, it's so cool. But I did this for me so that it was another means to help other people. And so, thank you so much. Like, it's crazy. If you're not listening, if you're not watching, you're listening, like, I'm in awe that we're still going so strong and that I've reached 9 countries, 14 different territories. Like, it's just incredible what technology can do when it's used in a positive manner. But I just want to say thank you. Thank you to every single person who has downloaded this. If you are listening, or if you're in your car right now and you can't, the best thing you can do before we get into this Q&A is go and leave a 5-star review and let me know what resonates you. Like, what episodes you like, what do you want to hear more of, how you're enjoying the podcast. Something that literally, like, oh my God, it made me so freaking just like appreciative was last week I was at Target, and I ran into a friend who used to go to the same gym. And she started talking about my podcast. I didn't talk about it. She started talking about my podcast, and her mother was there, and she was telling her mother about my podcast. And I literally like could have cried right there because I'm getting choked up. It only takes one person. You only have to make a difference in one person's life for it to positively affect others. And that was the moment I needed to just keep going. Because even if it's just that one person listening, it's worth it. So thank you to all of you who continue to listen to me ramble all of the time, because this is incredible. And I cannot wait to share with you and expand. So this isn't just me, because that's the best thing, is when it's a we thing, not an I thing. And so I'm going to answer a couple questions that you guys had about the Unfiltered Trainer and the podcast, and we'll just go out celebrating, because it really did happen. I can't believe it. If I talk about it, I'm going to cry. So first question a couple of you asked was, what made you start the podcast? And for me, it was just, I wanted to create a space to talk about all of these things, to talk about body image and dysmorphia, to talk about mental health and grief. Hell, to talk about having a traumatic brain injury and just how different I feel around everybody. I wanted to create a safe space that no topic was, too taboo. Nothing was off limits. Everything is done in a respectful manner, but in a very honest, vulnerable place, so that those like myself who used to feel like we were on the outside are actually the center, because everybody is welcome here. And there's no cliche about that. This is just a naturally inclusive environment. Bring your problems, bring your trauma, bring your issues, and let's talk about it, and share with me what you're dealing with so I can share an episode about it, because that's what makes it best, is the feedback from you guys. Number 2, were there any worries or concerns about launching a podcast? Hell yeah. I'm even scared doing this right now, terrified. When you talk about things or issues or situations, you never know who's going to talk to who about what and what they're going to say or how they're going to take it. It's terrifying that you might be misunderstood or somebody might take something you say the wrong way. But at the end of the day, this came from a very genuine, heartfelt place of just wanting to help people in a different manner. And so all of that worry and concern, it's gone away. Number 3, how do you handle the hate or disapproval from others? I remember that they don't pay my bills. Period. Like, end of story. I'm doing this all on my own. Like, I'm making it in Tampa as a single person. Like, literally funding my life. Like, nice apartment, nice situation, a lot of opportunity in my life, going places, doing things. Like, how do I handle it? I laugh, honestly, because at this point, like, I'm too old for the drama and the bullshit. So, like, you got your issues. That's speaking about you. You speaking about me says more about you than it does about me. Straight up. So you do you. You say what you need to say to make you feel better about yourself. But, like, at the end of the day, like, especially if you're around me these days, y'all know I'm like, I always say I got like 4 brain cells left. Like, having a brain injury has been hella hard. It's changed me so much. Like, I feel like I have like half a personality anymore, and like I'm like a dull person to talk to, which is funny because I have a podcast. It's so comical. But, like, I don't know. Like, how could you really hate me? Because I'm so weird. I don't know. But if you do, I wish nothing but the best for you. That's the honest truth. Like, I have no hate in my heart for anybody. I've made peace with everything I've needed to make peace with. And I think that is why I feel so happy in life. And I just feel good, is because I got nothing in my heart other than like genuine appreciation, gratitude, and love. Next thing, number 4. What was my favorite episode? The birthday episode. Like, period. Like, the birthday episode. Why? Because it was the most vulnerable I have ever been. And I put that episode out, and gotta take a second to breathe here. A lot of you cried on that episode because you didn't know, one, that I was in such a bad place last year, which I put on such a front for so long that, like, of course you didn't. 2, a lot of you are new to me, especially my Tampa friends, so you didn't know how difficult my life was 9 years ago. And what's crazy about this time of my life is that everything that turned my life upside down is coming. We're in that very tricky phase of time right now of my life where this is trigger after trigger after trigger coming for my soul. And there's an episode about triggers and mental health. But that episode is the first time I've really, really shared what that was like for me. And, like, I truly didn't think I was making it to that birthday last year, which is why I'm not a birthday person. But I got everybody together because I couldn't, like, go out at that point. The doctors wouldn't let me out socially. Like, couldn't sit in a restaurant or anything. I couldn't be overstimulated, couldn't listen to loud noises. And I had everybody come over to my apartment, and it truly was more of a celebration for them. 1, being by my side, and 2, I didn't think I was going to make it through last year. And then the accident happened, which really made me think, like, oh, hell, this is it. Like, you done, girl. Like, you ain't going to survive this. And it's crazy that we're almost at a year since the accident happened, which is just mind-blowing to me because it's also in the thick of my entire life falling apart, which is just, life's timing is comedic, if we're being honest. Number 5, what are the plans for the future of the podcast? You see it. Video episodes are coming. I actually think I finally found the place I'm going to film it too. It's an investment. Like, your girl makes no money on this podcast, but I think it's going to be worth it because I have some really cool ideas, and I'm going to present my ideas to this media company and see what they say, because my idea might be pricey. Like, your girl is not bougie. Like, straight up, I don't, like, the most name brand thing I have is my sneakers. I own nothing. Nothing. I have the hiccups. Nothing fancy. But my idea is cool. But I think it's going to come with a cost. So we'll see. Stay tuned on that. Also, like, I do, like, people have been messaging me, like DMing me about being a guest. Yes, that is where the videos are coming from. I just got to figure it out of like how to do this if they're not local. But I feel like it'd be cool to like just be sitting on this couch, like having a girl chat and just like talking about life. And I like have these cards I'm making of like when I interview people, like I'm so like, I freaking love this. Like just love talking to people. I actually have an idea for an event, like an in-person event I want to host. And actually, this podcast is going to go live. And a very big announcement is coming on tomorrow, which is July 23rd. I have had a couple meetings with the company for something I've wanted to do that I've thought would be so freaking cool. So something's in the works and we're testing it out for 2025. So if you follow me on social media, Gina Marie Fit, I'll put it in the video. Follow along because there's a surprise announcement coming tomorrow and I'm so super stoked. Number 6. This is just the beginning. This is truly the beginning of some really cool things I have been in the works in. Like I would tell you guys, I don't really share ideas unless they're actively happening. But this is truly just the beginning of trying to expand my ability to make an impact, collaborating with others who also have the same desire, and finding a way to utilize this incredible network I have to spotlight other people. And that's where Sweating Together for a Cause comes into play. And there's like an expansion for that coming too. And so at the end of the day, when I really just think about all of this, I feel so incredibly grateful for all of you, for every single time you download, for every single time you listen. I just want to make it more of an interactive experience now and like have you interact, share episodes you'd like to see, comment when things resonate with certain episodes. And then if you really do enjoy this, like Spotify and Apple, leave a 5-star review and write a little blurb and tell me why you're still here, like 33 episodes and 1,000 downloads later. But y'all, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for being a part of this wild experience that is, yes, it is terrifying, but at the same time, like it's so exhilarating and rewarding. And I just love that everything I do comes with purpose. And now I just get to live a purpose-driven life that I get to dictate what I do, when I do it, and who I do it with. And I get to do it with you. So thank you. Stay tuned, y'all. As always, we will talk